Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. It's an aftermath pod. Yes, indeedy duty, 20-9. Patriots fall to the Houston Texans in their preseason opener. Plenty to talk about, plenty to appreciate, plenty of things to trouble your little soul. Phil Perry will be along in just a minute. We're going to start at the end, though, because Malik Cunningham is going to win the day in terms of conversation and excitement going forward. Here's Bill Belichick on Malik Cunningham's performance, which I thought from Bill Belichick was pretty laudatory for a rookie. Bill?
Yeah, did a nice job, showed some poise out there, and, some toughness, moved the team. That was nice. Did a nice job.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know when I've been buying time because I don't have my senatorial friend with me. He's here now, fresh from the locker room where he heard that Bill Belichick sound on Malik Cunningham firsthand. Phil, first things first, Malik Cunningham did things tonight that are going to excite the masses and the media. What do we make of what happened?
You got a special athlete who had an opportunity to go against some backup defenders for the Houston Texans, and he made the most of his opportunity. And it was a lot of fun. Can we just say that? It can 100%. Be fun to watch offensive football in Foxborough, Massachusetts in the 2020s here. It is possible. And listen, we understand what the situation was, Tom, but clearly he can move with his legs. Clearly, if he's playing behind a banged up offensive line, he could give you something all his own. And I thought he threw the ball well. That's the reason he went undrafted. Nobody believed he could throw it at an NFL level. And, I know he didn't throw a ton of passes, but that throw on the run to Trey Nixon was a dime. So good on him. I hope he gets more opportunities. He deserves it.
Before we get into what should be a responsible conversation surrounding Malik Cunningham, and I'm going to give out guidelines for having a responsible Malik Cunningham conversation over the next week, because I know there's going to be a lot of people who decide that they're not going to have a responsible conversation, and they're going to ask circa 1999-2000 for Michael Bishop 2.0 to take over for Mac Jones. That's irresponsible. We're going to get to it. But what practical relevance can Malik Cunningham have to the 2023 New England Patriots quarterback room, in your view? From the high end, what can he do for them from a highly optimistic, glass almost full perspective?
Here's the highly optimistic version of Malik Cunningham's 2023. He continues to have an electric preseason, to the point where you can't release him and hope you can get him back after getting through waivers and put him on your practice squad. So he makes your 53-man roster. So you got to find a roster spot for him. And then, Tom, most optimistic version of his season is he's a developmental guy for you. He's your scout team quarterback because he can move. Week one, who do you got? You got Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Is Bailey Zappe going to be able to run an effective scout team offense and give you a look for your defense that Jalen Hurts is going to present? No. That would be Malik Cunningham's role for the most part. You develop a package of plays for him to use maybe sporadically, even in-game situations. But that's what he'd be. He'd be a developmental guy that you'd keep for the foreseeable future, 2024, 2025, and you see what you have, because mobile quarterbacking brings real value to the table, real value that a lot of teams are realizing across the NFL right now.
We saw that tonight, even against fourth quarter, first preseason game, backup defenders. There was a fourth down play behind a patchwork offensive line in which the Houston Texans didn't know whether to poop or go blind, and Pierre Strong ripped off, or it might have been J.J. Taylor, a very productive run up the middle to gain a first down and set up the touchdown. That's the type of thing that the Patriots have had teams loading up on them for, because they don't have to fear Mac around the edge. They did have to fear Cam Newton around the edge. So, to me, I wonder, is Bailey Zappe on notice?
Should he be? No, not yet.
He's not on notice, but I think that, look, Mac is a first-round pick, a capable player, virtually the offensive rookie of the year 2 years ago, regardless of what happened last year. I think he's only going to solidify his reputation as one of the 15 best. He's an upper half quarterback in the NFL, and I think he'll prove that this year. But the Patriots quarterback room then goes to a drop-off to a physically limited, however, gutty, accurate, leadership adequate second-year player who now is going to have to deal with, on his heels, a guy who's faster, more electric, and can do more things in his offense. So it's setting up for a fascinating conversation. And I think that's where the competition could emerge over the next 12 months.
I agree. And if you're the Patriots, again, let's talk in most optimistic scenarios. If you're the Patriots, you hope that Bailey Zappe tears it up in the preseason too. He wasn't able to do that tonight. I mean, he was, I guess, fairly accurate with the throws that he made, but he couldn't do anything because of the offensive line in front of him. But if he lights it up these next two games and in some of these joint practices, then maybe you're talking about building up somebody's value. And maybe there's a team out there that really liked him coming out of the draft and really liked what he did last year in the regular season. Then they get a couple positive games in preseason on tape of Bailey Zappe, and they say, hey, if this guy's available for like a third-round pick, why would we not try to pounce on this? And then maybe what Malik Cunningham affords you as the Patriots, again, he'd have to continue to play well. We've seen him basically in two practices, Tom, as a quarterback in one
100%.
preseason game. But what he affords you is depth at that position. And if you look at it and you say, you know what? A backup quarterback with the physical upside that Cunningham brings and a developmental guy who's on a very different timeline career-wise than Mac Jones is, that makes sense to us.
Does.
That's not a bad scenario if you're New England.
No, because if you do, we had this conversation on Early Edition earlier this week, pick up the fifth-year option on Mac Jones. It doesn't mean you're picking up the rest of his contract and he's your quarterback for the rest of the decade. That means you might need somebody in 2026. If you don't do something with Mac, 2026 is a dog's age away. And by then, who knows what Malik Cunningham or Bailey Zappe will be? And who knows who the head coach will be? Maybe Bill O'Brien embraces the notion of a dual threat quarterback in a way that perhaps nobody would when Tom Brady was a quarterback. You don't need dual threat guys when you have RoboCop back there.
Well, and he's accustomed to coaching mobile quarterbacks, right? And to me, at that position, it's a stunner to me that he wasn't drafted. But the reason he wasn't drafted was because of inconsistencies throwing the football. Now, I'm not saying he's Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts this time last year, Tom, people were wondering if Jalen Hurts was playing for his job. Now he's considered a top 5 quarterback in the league because of one season that he had and because he got a little bit more polished as a passer, and they built an offense around his legs. Now, they have the best offensive line in football. They have unbelievable weapons. It's a situation that has allowed him to thrive. But it to me is a great example. It is the foremost example of how quickly things can turn for mobile quarterbacks because the value that they bring with their legs is so great. Ben Solak from The Ringer. I know you like reading his stuff. I do too. He did a great post earlier this summer looking back at last year, and he looked at expected points added. And I know that's nerdy. It's an advanced metric, but teams use it. It's all over the media now too. We're coming to embrace it. You look at expected points added. The average scramble last year, so not even a quarterback designed run, but a scramble from the quarterback position was worth more than twice as much as the average NFL pass. So it just goes to show, if you want to be in an offense where you go from 1 to 2 to 3, all the way to your 4th read and your check down, that's great. The reality in today's game is you're not afforded that kind of time. It's usually 1, maybe 2 reads. And if you're athletic enough, then you take off. And these guys that can rip off 7 and 8 yard gains, you know, it's a lot easier for them to play on 3rd and 6 than somebody like Bailey Zappe, quite honestly. So there's real value in it. If he continues to play this well, someone will scoop him up on waivers. That would be my prediction. And so I'm wondering if he's making an angle play for a 53-man roster job. It would be a great story for a guy that nobody was willing to take a chance on in the draft.
I would almost guarantee that he's going to make the 53 based on what we saw tonight and based on what I think Bill Belichick thinks of him so far. Otherwise, it would be a miscalculation if you think the entire league is going to pass on a guy, especially when Anthony Richardson, with his limitations as a thrower, goes as highly as he did to the Indianapolis Colts, and the Jalen Hurts example as well. You talked about the offensive line and the jailbreak that we saw there. Certainly, I think there's an asterisk on the offensive performance, and Bill Belichick, when asked by Phil, allowed for that. And this soundbite is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more.
Bill, you mentioned, you mentioned some of the pressure that Bailey dealt with. Is it difficult to evaluate his night tonight because of the situation with the pressures and having guys in his face?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're, dealing with some injuries on the offensive line, but, the guys that were in there, I mean, he got some experience, but, yeah, it's tough for the backs and it's tough for the quarterbacks. So, yeah, we didn't have a lot of space on the offense, for the most part tonight.
Phil, did your voice squeak when you asked Bill that question?
I think I just ripped through puberty there in that 30-second question that I asked.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Hey, Bill, Phil Perry.
Offensive line talk, tough guy football stuff, yada, yada, yada.
Speaking of the offensive line, which Bill Belichick did, how do we view Bailey Zappe's night in that context? I went on Post-Game Live on Neckin and spoke about the fact that I think the Patriots need to add a quarterback because Bailey Zappe's out there into the third quarter because Trace McSorley is not good enough to go out there and be trusted for 2 quarters of football, which means Bailey Zappe is your second string player and your third string player at this juncture. Malik Cunningham probably isn't at a point where you're going to make him your third yet. So the Patriots are going to, at some point, need to add a quarterback, in my view. Trace McSorley isn't good enough. Before we get to whether or not you agree with that, what was Bailey's night like in your view? Because I actually gave him the game ball, which served as a Purple Heart.
Which I think is appropriate. And I think it was telling when Bill Belichick was asked about Zappe, the first thing he rattles off, I believe, was, he didn't turn the ball over. And I think it just goes to show you what kind of night it was for the offense. There was nothing doing back there. So the fact that he's healthy, he survived that mess, the fact that he didn't turn it over, checks across the board. But other than that, Tom, I'm not sure we learned a whole lot about Bailey Zappe. I would say this, and I feel this way about Mac Jones too. Both these guys, I think, have to understand and learn how to handle pressure better. I think that's fair for both. The way Zappe has gone about it has been interesting because we've seen it in training camp too. He's really trying hard to make these off-platform throws. And I just don't think that's who he is. He was asked about it after the game tonight. You're trying the sidearm stuff. What's up with that? Well, you just got to go with what the modern game, is suggesting that we go with. And I'm trying to throw around guys instead of throw over them. I get that in theory. The logic is sound because you're not a tall guy. You have to throw around them. But when your arm is Bailey Zappe's arm, throwing off platform and trying to look like Patrick Mahomes out there, even if that's the way the game is going, that's not your game.
And I would give this comp too, because if we could say he's not Mahomes, he's not Rodgers, he's also not Doug Flutie. So for those of you, and I know there's a lot of you who watched Doug Flutie from the time he was at Boston College all the way through his professional career. Phil, you saw plenty of Flutie, by the time he was with the Buffalo Bills and the San Diego Chargers. He was a player who had the mobility, the creativity, and really the arm strength and athleticism to make those throws. Even though he was smaller than Zappe in terms of height, he was a unique athlete. The athleticism in terms of speed, lateral quickness, et cetera, is not there for Zappe to be able to get out and throw off platform and look like Nomar going into the deep hole and trying to throw it. It's just not there. God bless him for trying, but I do think he is entrenched as a suitable developmental backup NFL quarterback who now has to look over his shoulder at Malik Cunningham, never mind trying to breathe down the neck of Mac Jones. I also want to ask, because of the offensive line travails, you didn't answer about the veteran quarterback, by the way, yay or nay?
Say one more time.
A veteran quarterback, yay or nay? Would you?
I'm out. I just think to get a good one, you'd have to actually give something up, and I think you just got what you got right now.
Okay, but I'm not saying now, but you want to add that at some point during the season, or do you just wait for something to befall Mac Jones and then say, "Don't worry, we have a list."
Hey, if the Texans, for instance, only want to keep 2 quarterbacks and they release Case Keenum at the end of August, I'd be all for that. Bring him aboard.
Same. And you don't even have to bring him aboard. You just put somebody on speed dial to a degree that you hope is going to be capable. Hey, football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time that team wins in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com NSBO.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 21 plus in present and select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
The running backs were held hostage just a smidge as well. And I also wonder, though, Kevin Harris should have had a first down on the 4th and 1. Didn't hit the hole hard enough. There was initial push in the middle. He got taken down by a defensive end. Pierre Strong had an open field play. He could not sidestep somebody on a 4th down. Phil's on the move, guys, because he has a TV hit in a second. But concerns about the running back room, it's just not deep enough. Again, just not deep enough. And it sucks to be saying that August 9th when there's no friggin' injuries at either position except for Ty friggin' Montgomery. And you got all the cap space this year and next. Bro, Shea.
They need a running back. Kevin Harris is not Damian Harris. You need somebody who's explosive, who's willing to mix it up and get it to holes extremely quickly, as fast as humanly possible, who's willing to sacrifice his body and just torpedo himself in short yardage situations. And he had an opportunity in 4th down. And I thought it was kind of telling because it was the kind of short yardage run that I've seen from Kevin Harris already during training camp. I saw him get blown up at the goal line by Jalen Mills, Tom, in like a one-on-one tackling situation, tackle to the ground, just stoned by Jalen Mills, who's built
not
like
a linebacker.
He's a corner, I know he's playing safety now, but he's not Rodney Harrison out there. So I just don't think he has it. And Pierre Strong's not built for those duties either. So they need somebody, whether it's Zeke, whether it's playoff Lenny, whoever it is, they need a guy that can get them a yard when they need a yard. That it shouldn't be that hard to find.
All right. 10 words or less on these players. Jalen Mills.
Comfortable at his new position.
Keon White.
Powerful brick house. Boy, explosiveness. I've got a lot to say about him.
Okay, limit DeMario Pop Douglas.
On the team, ? 2 offensive snaps, 1 fair catch for a punt, and done for the night? Feels like he might be on the roster.
Connor McDermott at left tackle.
Struggle bus.
Christian Gonzalez.
Athletic. I watched him very closely on a lot of the routes that he was asked to cover, especially in man. And I liked what I saw. He did get run over one time, though.
It was great. You called it a yard sale. Anthony Penny Jennings.
So much depth on the edge. Nice night.
Last but not least, the name is escaping me, so I am in a verbal 4 corners offense until I remember exactly what I was going.
I gotta go. I'm on NBC 10 in 30 seconds.
Okay, see you, Phil. I'm going to wrap this up all by myself.
Bye. Love you. Mean it. You're going to do great. I believe in you.
Love you. There he goes. That's Phil's cleavage. That's not Phil's cleavage. I don't know if we still have that on YouTube. It's Phil's cleavage, and then plus a whole lot more. All right. John Henry, the Skull Crusher, is going to delete Phil. You guys can look at Phil's area there at Gillette Stadium. He put his laptop down. I'm going to continue to talk, and remembering now. Oh, there he goes. Remembering now, the last guy I was going to ask him about was Jack Jones. Jack Jones, 10 words or less. A guy who may miss some time. 10 more words. You don't play that long if the team thinks you're available early in the year. 10 more words. Phil made a great observation when Brandon Browner was on the team, but slated to be perhaps suspended in 2014. The team played him a lot in the preseason. 10 more words. I'm not saying suspension for the kid. I'm just saying he's going to be away from the team next week when the team goes to Green Bay. that's enough of that. Now, 57 words to close the podcast. Speaking of Green Bay, I'm flying out there on Tuesday. We will provide you from Green Bay, Wisconsin, with a free Patriots Talk podcast. That night, we will have quick slants. That is in anticipation of the Patriots joint practices Wednesday and Thursday in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'll be there from Tuesday and then into Friday. I'll be on early edition on Friday. On Saturday, I'll be at the game in Green Bay. And on Sunday, I'll fly home at 5 o'clock. I'm going to spend several days in Wisconsin for you and all the listeners. And they pay me for it too. And I like football. I had fun tonight. This was good. We're talking football talk. And there's a lot to talk about. So keep you all up to date. Have a great weekend. Make sure you check out Phil's Next Pats podcast. He talked to Malik Cunningham's college offensive coordinator. Fascinating conversation. And we're going to have so much coverage on NBC Sports Boston.com throughout the weekend. Take care. Skull Crusher, we love you.